This is part 2 of an 8-part series, looking particularly at embodied mindfulness. So it's a bit of a taste of what I'll be offering on the Master Leader program. And just to disclaim that this is but one little aspect, one little taste, one little very particular perspective of the work that will be offered on the program. Definitely not representative of all of the work on the wisdom stream in particular, but really a way in to this journey of growing from the inside out, this inward journey. So this evening, we take that journey inwards by really focusing on the senses. And we're going to look at 3 in particular, that being sight, touch, and hearing. So in our everyday lives, I find, and I think most of us would relate, that we get so wrapped up in the sort of rat race of our lives that we tend to treat the body like an instrument or a machine or a brain taxi, as an embodiment teacher Mark Welsh often says. I see Tandy laughing because she knows Mark's work well. And so this work is about going, what about my full intelligence, my physical intelligence, my embodied presence? How do I begin to access that? How do I begin to listen differently with and through the body, so that I'm listening in each situation I find myself in with a much more integrated capacity? And so this evening session is about coming home to the body through the senses, because that's a really direct route in. So into this journey of inward listening, we take baby steps. So this baby step is going with the familiar, and the familiar is what we do all day, every day anyway. Hearing, seeing, touching. But we do it with a very clear objective in our day. So I'm going to invite you to come at this with curiosity and openness, and to really find an almost childlike interest in this exploration of seeing, hearing, and feeling, so that we begin to shift our habitual ways of being. And we start to open a little bit of our perceptual range, perceive the world, how we perceive ourselves in the world, by starting to just adjust this capacity for perception of the external environment, our exteroception. So our exteroception, being able to feel the stimulus of the world and how it affects us through touch, through light, through sound waves, as a gateway really for our ability to find interoception, to feel from the inside out. And as leaders, whether you are, as Anita said, leading a team, leading a large corporation, leading a family, leading whatever, yourself, it's about opening up the capacity to hear differently, to be present a little differently, almost to bring all of your resources online. So we begin to shift habit. So we're going to take a little process. It's going to be super short, just a little taster through all of those senses. You can do this process sitting or standing, whatever you feel comfortable with and whatever you have energy for at the end of the day. So entirely up to you. So take a moment to find the position you prefer to be in. And if you are sitting, I'm going to ask you to think about, if you're standing, that might be something to really help you engage. If you're feeling a little tired, just wake up into the evening. And so we're going to begin with what we take for granted in the day often, our capacity for sight. And so we allow ourselves a moment to be curious through the eyes. So we're standing in rooms that we're probably quite familiar with. And even if you're not, as I am, I've been in this room for quite some time now, so I've become quite familiar with it. And I want to really look at it with curious eyes, inquisitive eyes. So see if you can, for the sake of exploration, notice something you haven't noticed in the room before. The way the light catches a particular object in the room are drawn to. Notice the shadows and the play of light and shadow in the space that you find yourself in. Allow yourself to be curious, let the head move. Really look at the space that you're in. And in so doing, really familiarizing yourself with this place at this moment. What is the quality of this place right now? What is the light of this place right now? How do I notice the small details that I often take for granted when I'm rushing ahead to get something done? Allow your head to just be easy and facing front, and you might want to shift away from screen for a while so you're not locked into this relationship with us and the screen. And allow your head to be steady and gazing forward as if you were looking out over the horizon. And with eyes steady, so without eyes flitting about, take a moment to notice what is in the foreground of your field of vision without shifting the eyeballs. And notice what is in the background. So how have you already made a selection just by standing, looking out over the horizon? What are you noticing more prominently? And what is receding into the background? So just allow yourself to tune into this depth of vision that you have. And so the room takes on a depth, and you feel yourself as the observer noticing the space that you are in. And through that, really feeling a relationship to this space right here, right now. And so hopefully just starting to explore the act of looking a little differently to our everyday, where we're fixated on screens, objects in front of the body, looking where we're going, very clear and direct focus. So we just open the focus, and I'm going to invite you to think about opening your peripheral vision. And I'm going to assist you, and you're going to help this process by lifting the arms up. So it's almost like you're in a surrender position. So the elbows are elevated and the fingertips are facing the sky and taking in everything they see. Letting light come in through that optic nerve, crossing over behind the bridge of the nose, deep into the visual cortex of the brain, and then all the way down the spine, so that really coming in through the eyes, but then literally becoming embodied, coming right into your spinal column, and through that spinal column, throughout your central nervous system. With the arms in this hands up position, notice if you are a little bit more aware of your back as well. So something happens when we open these arms up that brings us into a different awareness of our back and our back space. And although you don't have eyes at the back of your head, see if you can sort of feel into that space behind you so that you complete what lies in front of you, in the foreground, in the background, your peripheral vision with your hands very clearly in your focus with a soft gaze, but then also this open awareness of the space behind you, and see if you can feel how much space is there between your back and the edge of the room behind you. And so we hold this open focus, really choose something in your field of vision in front of you, and then bring your eyes into a very clear, direct focus. It could be a point on the wall, a point on a piece of furniture. And if you might want to just reference the screen for a moment, we're going to take one hand in front of the nose and the other hand pointing at that object. So we've got a very sort of clear, strong, striking body gesture here, bringing us into a very sharp focus. So the eyes are really focusing at that point, and the arms are assisting by really drawing our attention to that point. And then we bring the arms back out, open into this expansive openness. And see if you can extend your field of vision, your peripheral vision. Can you see more of the ceiling? Can you see more of the floor? Can you feel the space behind you? And once more, really focusing on a particular point, and bring those hands into one in front of your nose and the other one pointing at that point in the room. We're going to link this to the breath now. So as we breathe in through the nose, we open the hands into this gesture of surrender, surrendering to all of this visual information. And as we exhale through the mouth, really bringing ourselves into a sharp focus. We repeat this a few times, so it becomes a bit like a mantra in motion, a repetitive motif that we're focusing on And it's almost like we're zooming in and zooming out through the eyes as we link it to the breath. Breathing in as we come into this open, expansive view with a peripheral vision, seeing the whole room. And then exhaling as you come into a very sharp focus. And so your eyes are doing a very clear zoom in, zoom out, going from direct, precise focus to open and expansive. If you can, without moving the hands, but just bring your awareness into this open peripheral focus without shifting the arms. Seeing what's beside you, what's above you, what's behind you, below you. And let the hands join that peripheral action. And here it's almost like we're holding the big picture. Here we are seeing the full picture. We're looking at a particular situation in our lives, a task, a particular context. Just noting for a moment the importance of being able to really hold the big picture and being able to move between this holding of the big picture and then drawing those hands into that clear focus, one hand in front of the nose, one into that, pointing to that point there, and really being able to drill down into detail, to have drive and focus and direction as expressed through these arms. And so this element of sight, just for a moment, going into the metaphoric of being able to go big picture, here I am seeing the whole room. And from that big picture, being able to really select a target, an objective, an end point, a goal, and then being able to draw your focus into that point. And just as you keep repeating that with the breath, just choose for yourself a situation or a context in your life at the moment and just ask yourself the question. So a little bit of self-enquiry here. How could I benefit from just zooming out from that detail, from the drive to the goal, and just zoom out? What would that give me? What else do I notice? What information comes at me? So what do I see in this room and what else is available to me? And then I make the choice to go into that point. Do 2 more of those. Again, just coming back into it as a motion mantra, mantra in motion. Just focus on movement, the sensation of moving, connecting breath and gesture as a way to calm, still, and focus. And release the arms when you come to the end of that. I'm going to take us through the next step and I'll create a bit of space for some chatting at the end. But hopefully now we're a little bit more in the room, in the space fully in a way that we weren't before, through the visual information, and able to really take in the big picture, a lot of information, and then if we want, pay attention to something very precise. We'll take that into the next part of this. So again, if you've been standing and you want to sit, please feel free. If you're sitting and you want to stand, be as comfortable as you can be. For the next part, I'm going to invite you, if you're comfortable to do so, to shut the eyes. And if you do shut the eyes and at any point you feel uncomfortable, please do open them. Orientate yourself in your room. You're safe in your space. And so we allow ourselves to just notice the difference now between having access to that visual information and then the relief, the calm, the stilling it brings when we shut the eyes. So in the same way we take information in through the optic nerve into the visual cortex, we allow this darkness against the eyelids to bring us a little bit of calm and stilling. And again, take that calm and stilling of the darkness along the optic nerve as it crosses over behind the bridge of the nose, down the spinal column, throughout the body. So while we activated and became alert through that waking up of the eyes open, we now allow ourselves a moment of stilling and grounding, calming. And from this calming, I invite you just to notice the sounds that you hear, the night sounds around you. not to expect any sound or anticipate anything. See if you are able to notice something you didn't notice a few moments ago when we were focused on visual information. And again, as we did with the sight, begin to discern what sounds are furthest away from you and what are really close by. So we're just feeling that range of hearing that we have. And then just for a little bit of loosening it up, see if you orientate your position in the room. How does that hearing shift? What do you hear differently? So shift your body position. Look into a different direction. And once more, shift your orientation again. Still with the eyes closed, you're really relying on the sense of hearing, and notice how that soundscape shifts as you adjust in this room. And begin to notice the silences or the spaces between the sounds, as much as you're noticing the sounds themselves. Allowing yourself to really register this holding silence from which all of these sounds emerge. And from there, I invite you to just bring attention back to your breath as you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And notice how your own breath begins to complement this tapestry of sound around you, this soundscape. And so we are noticing the sounds of life around us in this space, in this context we're in. And the sound of your own breath, that basic unit of your own life, delicately and complexly interwoven in the soundscape of life around you. So your breath, your life, connected to the sounds of life around you. We take them in through the ears. Just a moment to reflect here on the physiological process of hearing. So I find it fascinating that right now the sound of a car I'm hearing or a dog barking is moving in. That sound wave is coming in through my canal, traveling towards my eardrum, where my eardrum vibrates. Is literally having an impact within my own body. And from that vibration, it travels up into the brain, and I interpret that as those sounds. But a moment here just to reflect on this interconnectedness of what is outside and what is inside, and the impact that it has. As I speak to you, my voice has a physical impact on your body as your eardrums vibrate. Our sound waves literally slip through that boundary of another, right into their very biology. And just note for yourself in this listening, this curious listening without expectation, still aware of your own breath. Just notice what has shifted from the beginning of the session. What has changed? Are you feeling calmer, more energized, more focused? If there has been a shift, what has it been for you? And then I invite you to allow your entire body to become like that membrane of the ear. So your skin, like a giant ear, almost beginning to feel the vibration of those sounds, not only in the ear, but against your skin. So notice, where does that sound of that dog bounce off my body? Where does the screeching car bounce off? And so I stand here like a giant ear listening outwards. And in the process, also hopefully beginning to just listen inwards to the listener, to this person standing in this room, which you had a very clear visual map of, within the soundscape of life around you, in the street you're on, in the town you're in, the city you're in, this very particular person listening. And from here, I invite you to blink the eyes open. Ensure that you're not directly gazing at the screen so that the eyes are open. We've got access to the visual information. Here I am in this place at this moment. I'm within the soundscape, my life very closely connected to the sounds of life around me. My body awake and alert through the skin, like a giant eardrum listening. And from here, to allow yourself to really drop into a little bit more deeply inward. So it's as if you're turning the dial on an old radio and you're moving through the static until you really come into this sweet spot of the listening inwards. And at this point, just listening inward at the level of sensation in your own body. And so just notice what feels a little bit constricted, what feels a little bit tight or held, what feels closed or fatigued, what needs a little bit of attention. And then I invite you to take your hands and place your hands on that body part, wherever it might be. Hopefully somewhere you can reach, and let the hands just settle on that position. And so through the touch, we invite a softening of that body part that's just called out for a little bit of release, a little bit of witnessing, a little bit of noticing. And allow yourself to bring your focused attention to this meeting point between your hands and that body part. And ask yourself if you can perhaps soften your hands even just 5% more, so that that softening of the hands invites a softening deep at a cellular level of the body part you're connecting with. It's a meeting, it's an acknowledgement. It's the same as if you put a hand on the shoulder of a friend or a loved one or colleague to give them reassurance or comfort. We afford ourselves the same compassion and the same kindness. So let's notice if we can really connect and touch with as much kindness as possible. Now we do a little bit of flip of perception. So as much as we're feeling through the hands, that body part, I'm going to ask you to just flip that around and see if you can feel what the hands feel like through that body part. So I'm going to place my focused attention into my chest where my hands are. And I'm going to try and notice what the hands feel like. What is the temperature of the hands? What is the pressure of the contact? What is the quality of that touch? Is the pressure even on each finger, or is it a little more firm on one finger or one palm than another? And just notice. Just allow yourself to settle into this quality of touch. Bringing an aliveness into this act of feeling, of touching. And through that again, making the metaphoric or symbolic leap into being in touch with. So just a moment to check in with yourself. How in touch with yourself are you right now? How in touch are you with what you're noticing at a physiological level, but also what are you feeling? What is present for you? Have you gone through the day in touch with yourself, or have you been rushing from meeting to meeting or deadline to deadline? Mind flitting back into the past or forward into the future? How many times in the day were you really in touch with yourself? And so this solid and affirming contact and pressure, just a little activation, a little reminder of the importance of really checking in to see where are we are we at with something, what are we feeling, what are we noticing, what do we feel about something, what is the intelligence of our body saying at that moment. And then slowly allow the hands to release, but keep your awareness at that body part where the hands were touching, just feeling into the traces of the touch. Hopefully, perhaps a trace of warmth, softness. Just notice if there's a shift at that point. And then still with the eyes closed, exactly as we did with the eye focus, where we went into a really global, open, expansive view. I'm going to ask you to just think about opening your global awareness of all of your senses, your sensations right now. Slowly blink the eyes open to let the light in and see the space. And as you stand here in stillness, eyes open, ears open and hearing deepened, touch alive and awake, just notice what is present for you. What you hear when you really listen, are in touch with, and have a really global sense of yourself, a really wide view of this moment right here, right now. Just stay with that for 2 or 3 breaths. And then allow yourself to come out of that and return to the screen, return to the room, and everybody that has been through the same journey. So from here, I'd love to open to some observations, thoughts, experiences. I'm particularly interested in what happens when we come home to the body through the senses, through this real careful paying of attention to what we do all day, every day. But when we do it with curiosity, with careful placement of attention. So I'm interested to just hear, what is it you feel right now? What is it? How's your state shift from the start of the session? And we can go popcorn style if you have something to share. You're welcome.
I feel I had a really crazy day, and I just feel like literally like everything just dropped into to quiet, and found it sort of its right place. It's like the day settled, and that's the feeling I have. It was absolutely beautiful. And my other feedback is that it was so wonderful to be guided through what is already happening. How you helped us make conscious what we take for granted, and happily we can, but how valuable, how incredible it is to slow it down like that. I loved it. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I love what you're picking up on there, Lisa, that what is already there, which is often what drives our fatigue, drives our anxiety, drives our stress, can be the very same gateway that we find this calm and the stilling, and that we can find it at many moments in the day, wherever you are, sitting at your desk about to send that difficult email, in a very difficult confrontation, in a negotiation. What happens if I just take a moment to be in touch, to drop into sensation? How will that shift my interaction? So I love that. Thank you. Other thoughts?
I've had a really busy and engaging and exhausting day, and I find it almost unexpected, paradoxical that after the exercises I'm just feeling alert, just mentally alert and present, whereas I was tired. I would have thought the more relaxed atmosphere would make me just tired and sleepy. But I just feel so much more alert and aware.
Wonderful, Cecil. I love that you're speaking about a kind of shedding, is what I'm hearing. That when I shed the overstimulation of our sensory capacity, that fatigues. And the moment I can shed that, and I can do it even through the senses, I tap into an energy and a resourcedness or resourcefulness that is always and already there. And so that for me is so wonderful what you've just tapped into, that 5 minutes of the day in the middle of our work day can actually help us find more energy. So a lot of people go, but I don't have 5 minutes. I don't have 20 minutes in the middle of my work day. But if you had to perhaps do this in the middle of the work day, you might find yourself more productive because you're clearer in mind, calmer in spirit and body, and could perhaps have a much more efficient and productive day. So wonderful source of energy. I love that. Thank you.
There's something that jumped out of me is because I'd also had a long day, but I don't feel tired now, but my very clear awareness at the end of this is how very tired I am. But there's something in bringing attention to it in that way that makes me go, oh, right, well, soon after this, we will go and have a good rest. So there's something around the bringing the attention with compassion, that acknowledging where I'm at and what it is that I need next.
Wonderful. That's so key, Tanya, the compassion. To go, I'm listening to what is there. I'm not trying to suppress it, deny it. I'm listening to it, and then I can respond in the way I need. I can go get into the bath or get into bed and rest. Beautiful. Thank you. Any other thoughts? There's no pressure to contribute. I see we also are now 9 minutes over, so happy to hear one more thought. If anyone's burning to say anything. Okay.
I just felt very restful.
Great. Thank you, Casey. I hope that goes into the evening.
It was today's been a day that has gone all over the place and everywhere, and it was nice to just stop and feel restful like that.
Fantastic.
It's not the end of the day by any means. It's going to go on until midnight, but it was nice to stop and be still. It was stillness. It was lovely.
Yeah, that's key. So how do we find that stillness? Not in these moments of practice outside of our lives, but how do we find them in our lives? And I think that is the challenge. Or how do we build them into our workday? And they don't need to be long. But what I'm hearing is that they really increase our resources. So my invitation to you for the rest of this week is, how do I do that? How do I bring them into my day? So thank you all very much. I hope that gives you some taste of the work we'll be doing on the MLP. Natalie, I think, am I handing over to you? I think you have something you would like to say.
No, not from me. Anita, maybe from you.
Well, thank you, everyone. It felt very enriching and very much bringing one back into present moment of now. Athena, this is clearly your gift to us all, the embodiment of the now in such a tangible way. I just love the big ear, and I'm going to definitely put that into practice for the coming week. And thank you, participants. What time, it felt like timeless time spent together in some interesting way. And you know where to find us on the website, so sign up for more if you'd like to. Lisa's are also coming up. Lisa's going to be leading mindfulness series too. So if you like this and you want to nourish yourselves more, we offer more of this. And if you would like to have a one-on-one conversation with us at any point in time, please reach out. We'd love to chat. And have a good evening further. Thank you, Athena. Blessings to you all.